Hello and welcome to the Inbetween podcast. I'm your host Joe Scott. I'm joined here by Tony Tones at RT. How are you, Tony?
Hello, I'm
Always,
doing very good this rainy evening.
there's always a lot of T's
Well,
in there, like Fat T himself, the main man,
yeah,
Tony Tones at RT, the main man himself. Uh, Joining us
yeah.
on this
The
fine actual Sunday, as we always do. Um, Anything you want to talk about before we get into Starfield news? Because I've no game dare releases at this time other than a couple of
yeah.
games, and it's pretty much just Starfield news that's been coming out. I
No, I just
do
wanted to
have like
mention
a
the.
oh
Oh, yeah, go on.
no, I was just
That's-
gonna say I do have a slight break. There was a Nintendo Direct, and I do have a breakdown of the Super Mario Bros.
Ah,
Wonder trailer that was shown off.
okay.
And
No, I just
we
wanted to
get
mention the with the massive thunderstorm this summer to autumn transition period.
yeah, it's technically autumn in the UK if you believe that September 1st is the start of autumn, and it's
Yeah.
gone from it was getting kind of cold, and then it was like no 30-degree heat wave, no thunderstorm, and they're just like, oh, okay, I guess this is global warming in action as we live and breathe.
hmm
Um, yeah,
Yeah, it has been like this sort of well, not this. It has been warm like this time of year before. It's not uncommon, but like this amount of heat is ridiculous. And like having a thunderstorm, it's like that's normally like
well,
mid-summer, not end of summer.
yeah, I don't think I have anything in particular. I've got when we talk about Steam Deck, I've got some Steam Deck stuff to share with you, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to talk about this with Tony. I'm
Yeah,
going to show it to him on the podcast
you're
because it's cool
hidden the
stuff.
information.
Yep.
Okay.
So the games I've been playing this week, Tony, I've been playing Bowser's Fury, the second game on the Super Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury game on the Switch.
Yeah.
Sekiro, my first ever From Software game. Cat Quest. Actually, I was playing it today because I've been just playing it randomly on my Steam Deck, and I finished it today. I was like, oh shit, I guess I just finished the game. And
Okay.
I've also been playing a bit of Blasphemous, which you will find out
Oh,
later.
okay. Okay. Interesting.
So, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I can't wait to discuss it about Blasphemous, but I know that we haven't talked about Sekiro on the podcast, have we?
No, we have not.
So I assume we should probably talk about Sekiro
Okay, let's go.
or Sekiro. And how you want? I
Sekiro,
don't know how you.
Sekiro. I don't know how
I
you're
don't.
supposed to
Yeah, I don't
pronounce
know.
it.
I don't know where you're gonna put the pause in. So that's one thing that always confuses me with Japanese or Asian in general, actually.
Okay, starting now. Sekiro. So I always heard that From Software games are good. Um, I've never been interested in Dark Souls series personally. It always looked too slow and clunky for me. I think I
Yeah.
briefly played Dark Souls 1, the original non-remastered version. It was so like slow and clunky. It felt like walking in like a tar or something. I was like immediately, I'm not into this. I saw Sekiro the trailer. I was like, oh, this looks really fast and smooth. It runs at 60 FPS. There's a mod to uncap it to 120, which I've been using. It's very good, very fluid. And it was super fast and fun. And I liked the setting. It looked really cool. It wasn't just a dark castle somewhere. I then started playing Sekiro and I was having a lot of fun. And then I came up to some mini bosses and some bosses. And I learnt why people say Sekiro was the hardest Souls like game that From Software makes. I'm currently stuck on Genichiro. I've killed one boss. I've killed the horse guy, and I've killed a bunch of mini bosses like Seven Spears. I've gone past the snake. Um, I haven't fought Lady Butterfly. I've cleared out most of Ashina. Um, yeah, I'm out of time. I can't say anymore. The game's hard, but
Time.
it's rewarding. I would say when you
hmm
finally beat something. This is Genshiro on the screen right now. He's basically
Okay.
spoiler alert, guys. The start of the game, he cuts off your hand. That's why you have a
Okay.
prosthetic. But yeah, he's one
So
of
it's
the hard.
payback.
He's one of the very hard bosses, and yeah, he's sort of like.
Okay.
I like that mini bosses like Shinobi Hunter and Seven Spears. They're like skill checks for the Mikiri counter. They're like when you learn the Mikiri counter, the bosses become a lot easier, and it's like every mini boss and boss you fight in this game is just trying to teach you a mechanic that makes you a better player. That's all I will
Yeah,
say
'cause
for now, because I cannot say any
okay,
more because otherwise it will take over the podcast. But yeah, I'm
okay.
enjoying Sekiro, but it's very hard.
Yeah, it look. I like the saying as well, and it looks interesting. There seems to be like way more
I'm also playing with the Japanese
movement
dub
stuff.
because that is the original dub.
Yes,
I
yes.
Some people are gonna say, I don't speak Japanese. Put it in American. But I don't
Yeah,
know. I haven't had a problem reading subtitles so far, so I've just been using the Japanese dub. Apparently, the English dub makes like the first boss sound very funny when he comes out because
right.
he comes out and he shouts out his name, and apparently it's very funny in the English dub. Um, but we'll talk about that more later. But yeah,
Okay,
I'm glad you didn't pick Blasphemous because we're going to be talking about that later. Um,
right.
let's move on to our first trailer, which I would say you should watch as well, Tony. Quomp 2. Have you ever heard of Quomp or Quomp 2? Um,
I feel like I recognize them, but I can't.
I'd never heard of this. And then I was
Wait,
like,
is
oh,
this?
wait, it's Atari. They're doing another. So we saw with, what was that game called? The platformer game that just came out. I played the demo of it, and they just were like, here's an original Atari platformer. And they were just like, hey, it's our original game. And then suddenly it shifts, and it's a completely different take on the entire um, game itself. It takes it from like this really slow,
Yeah.
sluggish old retro platformer. And it's like it's a super fast, precise, cool platformer. And then they've taken like Pong, one of their original games, and then gone, let's turn it into like a weird like exploration puzzle game sort of thing. It
I
looks
like
really
what.
interesting.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing at the moment. So I
It's
think I'm down
Pong
for
boards. You
this.
navigate your ways through industrial mazes and dangerous obstacles. The follow up to a surprise indie hit, Quomp. Adds a new ability that
Okay.
opens up the way you play. Will you make it to the end? Like it almost has this weird like brutalist industrial like horror vibe to it as
Yeah.
well with some of the monsters that I saw in the trailer. I was like, this looks really fucking it. If this is the Atari we're getting now, especially with stuff like the Night Dive acquisition and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
they were talking about how Atari's become a different company since they did the Atari 50, where they were talking about 50 years of Atari. Where they did that big documentary. It was
Yeah.
like it was like an interactive documentary, right? You got to play the games as well as like learn the history of the Atari games, and it seems like Atari are actually not a French gambling company. It seems they're actually doing game things. So hopefully they stay that way
Right.
because this game looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of Quomp One, so that one's immediately going on my radar. Oh, that's going
Yeah,
straight in
it
my
is pretty good.
basket. That came out in
Yeah.
2021. But I just guess I hadn't. Yeah, I hadn't been recommended it, and I don't think I gave Atari the time of day. So yeah,
No, I kind of assumed for the longest time, but yeah, if they've changed, it makes a lot of sense that now I
yeah,
guess
I'll
they're
be checking
trying
out
now.
Quomp One and Quomp Two when it comes out. Looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Next up, we have Power Wash Simulators getting a Back to the Future DLC. And
Huge.
I immediately, as soon as I heard this, I said, "You better clean the freaking DeLorean. You have to clean the
What?
DeLorean and Back to the Future."
What else? What else would you clean? I
So I believe
suppose.
you
But that's-
clean the clock tower,
okay.
um,
Yeah.
and the train from Back to the Future 3. You
Oh
clean
yeah,
that as well.
I don't know what it is. Like the train is like iconic, but I always forget it. But maybe it's like I'm not
I
much
feel
a
like Back
fan
to
of
the
the first
Future
one.
3, a lot of people forget about that one.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I
it's the
always forget it's a
strongest
train.
Back to the Future game,
No,
film from Zemeckis. But
1 and
yeah.
2 great though.
Next up, we have Escape Simulator Portal. Free update is out now. So if
Oh,
you
it's
want to
out now.
play,
Nice.
yeah, it's out now. I have not tried it yet, but hopefully I can get some friends together in Escape Simulator and we can try out the Portal expansion because I'm very interested in playing this as a huge Portal fan. So
Yeah, it's a really nice aesthetic, and I
sometimes I
like.
feel
Yeah.
like Valve is sort of like um, Warhammer with its properties. It's just like
Yeah.
you want to make something with Portal, yeah, go ahead. You want to you want to add Gordon Freeman to Final Fantasy 15?
15?
Yeah, go ahead. I think it was 15, right? I'm just trying to
Yeah,
remember the numbers.
the boy band.
I'm like 14 is MMO, 16 is new
Yeah,
one, 15
yeah,
must have been boy band in a car.
yeah. Correct. XV. You could just call it XV. It's fine.
I can't remember Roman numerals off the top of my head.
Yeah, you never. You never taught the foundations of Roman
X.
numerals in the
Well,
school.
okay.
Bring it back.
1, 2, 3, and then V is 5,
Yeah.
and then
So
X is
one thing again.
10, and then
So the
V.
thing is, like, it's the thing that's important to remember is kind of like base 10, but then like the halves of the one up
4
from it has its own
is
letter.
IV, right?
Yeah. If you put
And
a
then
smaller number in front of a larger number, it always minuses from it.
yeah,
So
like I
IX is
like
always
like I
9.
I understand the basics, but I can't do
Yeah.
it quickly
It's
in my head a lot of the
yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah. It takes time to read.
I'd much rather them just do numbers, but I'm guessing if you've
Oh yeah,
released six,
Arabic
I'm guessing if
numerals.
you've released 16 games, you're probably like, oh, maybe we'll just stick with the Roman
I
numeral.
think it's like wine like tells like the year in Roman numerals, right? I think it's just fancier.
Yeah. Let's move on to.
So
Oh, so we had a Nintendo Direct specifically for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So let's have a look at this.
it's for a game.
Yeah, I mean it's the big release of the year, right? I mean,
True.
we've
True.
had Metroid Prime Remastered, and well, okay, we had Tears of the Kingdom is probably their big release of the year,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Yeah.
so it's been Metroid Prime, Tears of the Kingdom, and this. I think Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe came out this year as well. I was just playing Kirby's Dream Buffet on my not my Steam Deck. Wink, wink.
Your
'Cause
Switch.
I was playing on my Switch, yeah, and I was running it, and I was like, "Who is this game for?" It came out last
Yeah.
year, and it's essentially like it's like little, it's like little party mini games, but not really. You sort of like roll around. I played it for like 30, 40 minutes. Like I was like, you just roll around and eat strawberries, and you have to be the first to get to the end while being the fattest a lot of the time. I don't know.
Okay.
Sometimes Nintendo makes games, and I'm like, who is this for? Why did you make this? And then sometimes they make games, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. It's cool to see this sort of stuff. So, um, I think Super Mario Bros. Wonder that looks really cool because I've been playing
What the
Super
hell's
Mario
happened to
3D
Bowser, by the
World.
way?
He turned into a house because he ate a shroom. That's official law.
Okay, yes, okay,
These
good,
wonder
good.
flowers are not drugs. Definitely not. Like Mario definitely doesn't take drugs when he gets superpowers.
Well, the thing is that you like, I would expect like if you took the drug and everyone else got superpowers, that would make sense. This is kind of weirder where it's like they get, yeah,
Well, I
super
was streaming one
super
of these. I
super
was streaming. I
plants.
think it was Bowser's Fury the other day. My friend was watching, and he was like, "Oh, this looks like Super Mario on drugs." And I was like, "Just no, they're doing that. It's called Super Mario Wonder. That's going to be the real like LSD Mario game."
Yeah, this really is yeah, this really trips me out.
But basically, if you don't know, the main concept is you have these things called Wonder Flowers, which Bowser has stolen and turning himself into a giant castle that shoots things. But when you
As you
touch
do.
these Wonder Flowers, the level completely changes in like weird and wacky, like cosmetic ways. Um, One thing I want to mention, I've been playing Super Mario 3D World recently, and I've been playing it after playing Super Mario Odyssey. And after playing Super Mario Odyssey, I was like, man, Nintendo fucking nailed 3D Mario with Odyssey. And then I was
Hmm.
like, man, Super Mario 3D World is like really stuck between 2D and 3D. It's not.
Yeah,
It's always like it's trying to be both, and it's worse as a sum of its parts, right? Like if it was just
yeah,
focused on one, I think it could have been better. And it's like, oh, they're actually going back to doing 2D games now after doing the 3D games with Odyssey and Bowser's Fury. Um, which is cool to see. So we're getting like a 2D platformer. Um, you can
yeah.
find
The
talking. You can find talking flat. So the flowers in this game talk in human sentences for some reason, but they
makes
basically
sense.
can give you useful items or hints when you talk to. I think if you can throw water at them, which was shown in the trailer, where there'd be lava levels and you throw water to put out like fire blocks and stuff like that. Um, you can hold an extra power up and switch between them. This is very similar to other Super Mario Bros. Games. Super Mario 3D World does this as well. Um, the elephant power up, which we saw from the trailer, was like, oh shit, it's
Oh,
Elephant Mario.
yeah,
You can run through blocks with that power up. You can run through big gaps. You can attack with your trunk, and you can pick up water with your trunk to water flowers. Um,
makes sense.
There's a bubble power up, which will kill most enemies with homing attacks. So it seems like a lot of the power ups are like interesting in their own way, which is quite usual in Nintendo games to make you want to not just use the one power up that's good, just sort of experiment using different ones. So the bubble one's more like a
Yeah.
aggressive power up where it's like I'm going to send bubbles out and then they sort of home in on enemies. Um, then there's also a drill power up, which lets you dig underneath the ground. And then also, if there's ceiling enemies, which have like spikes underneath them, it allows you basically to attack enemies from below now because you have a drill on your head, so you can jump up and hit them instead of having to stomp on them, which
Yeah.
makes the drill one interesting. All characters
Novel.
are cosmetic except for Yoshi, which is essentially the accessibility character. Um, so
I'll give it a better
Yoshi,
jump.
so in previous Mario games, each character would have their own unique mechanic. So Luigi usually jumps higher but runs slower. Um, Peach could glide in some games, or Rosalina had like a spin dash in midair. Like a lot of the characters were like not cosmetic; they all had like different play styles. Whereas in this one, they're
Mm.
like, "Hey, we're just designing it around one main way of moving. We don't want you to feel like you need to pick a certain character to use a certain skill set. So every
Yeah.
character is just the same, but they just look different. So you can be like, well, I want to play whoever the fuck in the world says I'm a Toad main, and is like, I need to play Toad for some reason. It's
I'm a
like
Toadette main.
you're a Toadette main. Toadette is in
Yeah.
this game, so you can play as Toadette.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Yoshi is the
Where's Peach
accessibility.
Elephant?
Peach can become an elephant.
Yeah, we haven't seen any pictures, right? I want to see Peach Elephant.
No, they showed it off in the
Okay.
direct. So
Okay,
if you
thank
want, you can
God.
look that up. But Yoshi is the accessibility character, or as some people call it, the game journalist character,
Okay.
or the baby mode character, as some people like to jokingly. Oh, see, we can see Peach Elephant here in the trailer.
Oh my God,
Um,
that's brilliant. Yeah, I want to be Peach Elephant.
but Yoshi's invincible, and he can flutter jump like in previous Mario games. If you don't know what flutter jumping is, essentially Yoshi has a move where he goes "Eow," and he like waves his legs and then he sort of like glides upwards a little
Yeah.
bit, which is how he works. It's very similar to how he works in most of the games.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of it in the trailers, but at the start of
Yeah.
this video.
So the way they're doing like unique movement mechanics now is there's now a badge system. The way the badge system. Oh, I forgot to mention the bubble Mario. You can throw out bubbles and jump on them like platforms, which is really
Oh,
really cool. Um,
yeah.
There's now a badge system that lets you augment your gameplay when you equip one. So there will be you can use one per course, but they will like completely change how you play. So one of them will give you a parachute when you jump down, which will let you like slow fall. One of them will let you shoot vines out like a grappling hook. One of them will let you, have a improved wall jump mechanic. It's like, well, this level I might want to take this badge, which helps me platform around more based on these certain platforms, which I think might be an interesting thing to consider. Like it's giving the player more
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
There is 4-player co-op, and if you are, this is online and local. And when you're playing single player, it almost has like a Dark Souls system where you can see other people's ghosts when playing online, that can share items and help res you. So if somebody's like dying, and you see their ghost, you can go up to them and hit res for them. You can drop flags that like let you set checkpoints, and then you can set these. Other people can use these as well, and then yeah, it looked pretty good. Um, I couldn't see a timer in the levels at all. I've watched gameplay as well. It seems like they've got rid of the timer from Super Mario 3D World, which is one of my big complaints. Where I was like, there's no reason that in the day and age we need to have a timer on the levels, especially when
No.
exploration is such a key mechanic of Mario games these days, where I just
'Cause
constantly feel like I have a timer for no reason a lot of the time.
could not be a badge like
Seems
as
like there's a
like a
timer in some of
speedrun game.
these. There's a timer for like mini games, or like
Right.
specific sections. They're being like these wonder effects have timers, but it seems like the main base game didn't have one from the footage we've seen. So that might be changed potentially. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think having timers for exploration doesn't make much
it
sense.
looked like it's targeting 60 FPS. Uh, but looked like it had a lot of slowdown in like the multiplayer scenarios, like when you had like those multiple people playing on the same screen, it looks like the Switch was struggling to keep that locked 60. So
Right.
whether it's going to be
It's
able
no
to,
Steam Deck.
yeah, I don't know if it's going to be able to keep a locked frame rate when there's multiple people on the screen, but that's to be expected because that's probably going to add CPU head overhead, and
Yeah.
the Switch CPU is not very strong, so we'll have to wait and see with that. I'm assuming the single player is going to be like a locked 60. We don't know yet. We'll have to wait for port analysis, but yeah, I'm optimistic about this game. It's coming out soon. I think next month, maybe. Let me double check that. When is it coming out? Yeah, 20th October. So it's coming out next month. I'm probably going to be playing this. I'm very interested in trying this one out. So even if it's not locked 60 somehow, Tony, there'll be a mod that will fix that. So
Oh, okay.
well,
Well, thank
I'll look
God.
forward to some
And
60 FPS gameplay. I just
yeah,
probably won't be
on your
playing on
black Nintendo
online.
Switch.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there was also a
It looks
special
good.
video from Shigeru Miyamoto and Charles Martinet
Oh yeah.
explaining what the hell a Mario Ambassador meant, which actually explained absolutely nothing, and I'm still completely confused as to what a Mario Ambassador is. But he's basically saying they're reminiscing about how Charles Martinet used to call Miyamoto Papa in like an Italian American voice, and I used to hit his head on things because he's a tall man in Japan. So I guess he's going to go to conventions still, even though surely they couldn't stop him unless they did like a Konami move and they were like, "You cannot accept an award for Metal Gear Solid."
We
F
have
you,
lawyers cut.
F you, Kojima.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they did say that a lot of the Mario characters are getting their voices changes, but that makes sense considering Charles Martinet voices a lot of the he voices Luigi, he voices Mario. I think he does some of the other characters. I don't know.
By some of the enemies, right? He does. That's what I thought.
Let me see if I can pull up his voices. Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi. He does all the voices for those.
Oh,
So
okay.
all of those voice actors will definitely be changed. I don't know if they're going to change others. They didn't announce that. Maybe they'll be AI generated. That would be interesting to see from Nintendo. That's just a pure meme from me. Do not take that as the seriousness. Let's move on to announcements. Volition is being shut down. So the Volition team are the team that made all of the Saints Row games. They came out
Yeah.
recently with Saints Row, a reboot of the series that I think nobody really wanted. It was like
No.
a gritty reboot of the series where their big success was with games like Saints Row 3 and Saints Row 4, which were super wacky recently. And yeah,
Well, this was what the new one. The
they
reboot was wacky in a different way, in like a very childish way. I would say it's just like it didn't
It
work.
launched exclusively on the Epic Games Store. It came
Yeah.
out on Steam like a week ago, like a couple weeks ago, and then they're like, by the way, we're shutting down. I'm like, oh, that game kind of done well. So that is very
No.
unfortunate because I think there was some talented developers there. I just
Oh yeah.
think that, I liked the Saints Row, the third game that I played. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
Especially a big fan of
I.
his name, Professor Genki, and
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
weird like Saw game shows he would
Yep.
run.
Yep.
The
I
cat
still
guy.
really want a reboot of the or a remake of the second game. I think that deserves to be remade. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, shame to see. Mimi Games, Shadow Tactics Desperados 3, some pretty cool games, is being shut down. That Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew will be their final game. Shame to see because there was some
Mm.
pretty cool stuff being made over there.
Yeah.
And it seems all too common now that it just seems like recessions, inflation, everything's hitting harder.
Yep.
COVID
Yep.
development, stuff like that. Game studios are just getting hit
It's
harder
just
and harder
hard
now
to.
by this
Yeah.
stuff. And then
I mean, all businesses are, but these especially get
Awesome
hit
Noughts
hard.
developer Ronimo Games has filed for bankruptcy. The 16-year-old studio created the original THQ De Blob, and developed titles such as Sword and Soldiers and Blightbound. They were mostly known for their um, Awesome Noughts game, which was like one of the original like MOBA games, I would say Awesome Noughts is. I always thought Awesome Noughts' mechanic of when you were dead, you would like drop ship into the level and you would collect coins along the way, and the more coins you collected gave you more money. I was always like, oh,
Yeah,
that's such an awesome mechanic.
it's something to
Uh,
do while respawning.
my brother Daniel was a huge fan of the game. I think he loved to play it, but yeah, it's been announced that they are just completely shutting down, which is a shame to see. Because you were like, "Oh man, that sucks," and I was like, "When was the last time you heard about Awesome Noughts?" I feel
Yeah.
like there is definitely a dedicated player base for this, but obviously it's not as big as it once
Yeah,
was.
yeah, for sure. I think 2017 was its heyday in terms of what I could tell of like content being made for it. It's sad to see.
Good. 22nd of August 2023, unofficial statement on the company's Discord that we got hit by a series of unfortunate events while working on our latest project, and we weren't able to recover despite our best efforts. So, shame to see. Shall
Yeah,
we Oh, hang on. Let's talk about delays. No, cancellation. Sorry. One of the biggest games, Only Up, has been delisted from Steam. Did you hear about Only Up? It was like one of those big rage bait games. It was like Getting Over It sort of
yeah,
style, where it's like
yeah.
a dev put together a bunch of assets, um, and basically you had to climb up to the top of this giant structure of random props, and it was quite hard, and it was yeah, basically it was like it got really big. I was like unsure of the quality of the game, but it was popular because people seem to enjoy those sort of games. Basically, the dev
Yeah,
said he couldn't handle the stress of players asking for updates and wanted to work on a new game. So he just decided to completely remove the game from sale, which seems like a really
yeah.
weird thing to do, considering you could just
Okay.
state that you wouldn't be updating the game anymore and leave it up to
Yeah.
people who wanted to play the original game. But this is also coming at the same time as uh, the developer having to change certain assets because they were stolen assets, because he just
Oh,
got a
okay.
bunch of assets and like uploaded. I think there was a giant statue of like an anime figure or something that had to be changed because the original creator hadn't been asked permission for it to be added to the game.
Yeah,
It felt like most of the assets in the game were just like Unity asset packs or
yeah. Paid for
Unreal
packs on the
asset packs,
stores.
whatever
Yeah,
engine this was running in. But it was just
yeah.
like
Which makes sense for this sort of game.
it was just like a bunch of random objects just strung together into a game, and it was like people didn't care because they just wanted to play this sort of games.
Yeah,
I do think it's interesting that this was one of 2023's biggest games thanks to Twitch, and it just has been removed from Steam now, which is interesting.
yeah. It's weird. It's an unusual tale for sure.
Delays due to a recent fire in an office building and unpredicted development issues. Console versions for Phasmophobia have been delayed leading up to Halloween to this October. Uh, so it seems like there was a fire at the Phasmophobia guy's office, which actually impacted the console development of Phasmo, which is pretty obviously is a horrible thing to have happen. You don't hear about this like every day where you have fires slowing down development. So hopefully those guys are all right
Yeah.
and they back on their feet.
I hope we didn't lose too much.
Let's move on to releases. Sea of Stars came out on the 29th of August. This one was sort of a okay. This one came out and got a ton of hype, and I was like, I am not interested in this game at all. Not because of its quality, but because I am just not really interested in like
You,
turn-based JRPGs.
yeah,
But I can
yeah,
obviously see that people are really hyped for this sort of thing. But it is made by the Sabotage Studio, the developers of The Messenger, which is a really cool like ninja game, I believe, like retro-inspired pixel art game, uh, which was published by Devolver, which is why I know about it. I never played it, but it always looked really cool.
Hmm.
Apparently, I know on Amazon Games, which is important, Tony. So you should be listening. Um,
Okay.
Yeah, it seems to be very
It-
well reviewed. I believe it's on Games Pass as well. So if you are somebody who was like, I'm going to sub to Games Pass to play Starfield, you can play Sea of Stars. Oh, by the way, Tony, as the release of Starfield came out, they cancelled like the $1 1 month
yeah.
trial pass for Games Pass. They were like, so many people are going to try and use that just to play Starfield. We're going to do that. They did that earlier one time this year, and it was for the release of Redfall. And yeah, I don't think many people were like, "Oh, I need to pay full price to play Redfall" after it came out. Obviously, I was very hyped to play a new Arcane game, but seeing that they went with like this online sort of looter shooter sort of thing, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. You know,
So
I
it's
think
unfortunate
I
because I
think
thought
they
the
said they
style was good.
they're like committed to working on Redfall and trying to improve the quality, but I don't know if fundamentally the game will ever be in a state where I
I
want to play it.
think, yeah. Well, hopefully they can, but I feel there's a lot needs to be changed for that to be
Like I was thinking
worth
about
playing.
subbing to Games Pass when I was playing Starfield, and then I started playing Sekiro, and I went, "Oh, I'm going to be playing this game for a long time." Like I
Okay.
slowly dawned on me that I was like, I'm like 20 hours in, I've killed one boss, and I'm like, "Oh no, I'm going to
Yeah,
be playing this for a long time."
but you're gonna become so good that you'll just breeze through the rest of them.
It was the sort of thing where people kept saying it was really hard, and I don't know. Maybe I've become cocky over the years, and I'm like, "Ha, pretty hard for them, not for me." You ever do that where you're like, "Ha,
Yeah,
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 that looks
yeah,
hard, but I could beat it easily." And it was like I
yeah,
was avoiding it because it was an ego check, and now I'm getting my ego checked.
yeah.
Um,
We don't want to get it checked, but it comes a time when it gets checked. Yeah.
Next up, we have Under the Waves from Quantic Dream and Parallel Studios. It's another underwater story game. It seems,
Quantic Dream, unheard of.
well, it's made by Parallel Studio and it's
Yeah,
published by Quantic Dream. Is
it's but
Parallel
yeah, I think this is
Studio,
one of.
because this is the first one they have on Steam. Let me look up Parallel. I don't know too
Is
much about this.
this? Yeah,
This
this
was
one of the
this was
ones.
this was like announced at what was it? The game thing that just happened, I think. What was it called? It was one of the Jeff
Is this
Fests.
one?
One of the Jeff Fests, they were like, Under the Waves, and it's out now.
Yeah. Is this one of the things where it's like Quantic Dream like split off to like make a side project? Was it one of those? Or was it a
They
different
say they're
thing? I
French.
can't remember.
I'm gonna based on the fact they're French, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say
Okay.
yes.
And everyone in French,
With no information.
everyone in France knows Quantic Dream, so
Yeah, let's just make it up on the spot. French equals Quantic Dream.
yep.
Right.
Name another French studio.
It's very positive reviewed. It was mostly positive reviewed, so it seems like I think when it launched, people were saying they were having some um, issues with the version,
Right.
but it seems like people are enjoying the story of it and saying it's worth the entry price, which is £25. It's not super expensive in
Yeah.
current day.
That seems
Um,
reasonable.
yeah, seems interesting.
I mean, it's
Uh,
half a normal game, I suppose.
well, it depends if you want to spend £80 on Starfield or not.
No, no,
Dead by Daylight
I'm saying
Alien
£50 is normal.
The Dead by Daylight Alien chapter pack has come out, and it seems like I was reading the reviews earlier. People were saying the xenomorph killer is quite strong based on these reviews.
Right. Too strong?
Well, they said I throw pallet, I get hit by tail. I don't throw pallet, I get hit by tail. So pallet is like a
Okay.
way that you can stun the killer, which like completely stops them from attacking you. And it seems like the xenomorph is able to attack you with their tail even if you pallet stun them, which would be very, very strong. They really went and said, let's buff killers and disbalance game, and then add killer who has 0 counterplay and turrets don't do shit to him. Great job, fun, 10 out of 10. Buy Texas Chainsaw Massacre for a clear skin. Damn. Okay. Yeah, but it seems like people are
Savage,
saying
savage
that
review.
the killer is bordering on pay to win. Some people seem to be saying,
Right.
but I will say the DBD community can overreact sometimes. So we'll wait and see if there's any further patches to this, and it might not be pay to win. It might just be a strong killer. We will have to wait and see. But yeah, Cool that there is an alien.
Well, you technically pay for the DLC. I don't think that makes it pay to win, personally. But yeah,
It's cool to
sure.
see the xenomorph and Ripley in Dead by
Yeah,
Daylight.
yeah.
My fingers are still crossed that Gremlins are coming to. Gremlins came to fucking Multiverses, a game you cannot play anymore. So fingers crossed they come
Yeah,
to a
that
game that it
sucks.
still exists before it gets taken out of open, open beta, which lets you buy things and then closes and goes, oh no, we'll keep the money.
Mm-hmm.
Trine 5 came out 31st of August. I think was it Trine 3 was the one that got like mixed reviews. People weren't happy with
Yeah,
the way the
and then
series
for
was
them,
going, where they moved from like
yeah,
less side scrolly 3D to more like open 3D. And I think with
yeah, I believe
Trine
it was 3.
4, they went back to the side scrolling formula of 2.5D sort of graphics. And it seems
Yeah,
like Trine 5 is back
it's
to
a
that
good
form.
formula.
It is very positive. 300 reviews on Steam. Um, it's good, just like the other 3 games. Yeah, there's only 3 other games.
The other 3, yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like Trine's one of those games where I'm like, I played Trine ages ago, and I need to go back and play the other Trine games just to.
Yeah,
I can't. I definitely played Trine 1 or Trine 2. I might have played both. I just don't remember. So I need to.
I've
At one point, I'm going to
definitely
go back and
played
I'm
through Trine
like,
1.
I have Trine 3 and I have Trine 4. But I do want to. And I had like that. Is it 9 Parchments game they made as well?
Yeah, I don't think they're too long either, so I think it's just like a couple of evenings, I think.
Yeah,
Especially for like
I really
co-op.
like these games, and I want to play them.
Yeah. They look great, I think. I think they choose really good locations and
And next up, we have Mega Man X Dive Offline. I was like, I immediately read this and I went, what the hell is this? It came out the 1st September, and it is essentially, it was an online only gacha game, and they turned it into an offline only full game, and it seems like people quite like it now, from what I can read.
okay.
Um,
How they remove the gacha mechanics?
they made it completely offline, and they've stripped out all the monetization.
So there must be a different way to get the stuff then?
Ultimately, this is a somewhat watered down and simplified X game that is best played by constantly swapping between the mouse and menu navigation controller for actual gameplay, with a buttload of grinding in between. Also recommend going through the settings in the top right as soon as possible. My graphics will auto set to low and scrolling them to the best settings. The main thing you should turn off is precise jumps, but I recommend checking the other settings too and seeing what you like. Without a doubt, the main gimmick and reason you
Interesting.
want to play this is the insane amount of characters. This game is an absolutely massive love letter to the X series, but at the entire Mega Man franchise. The story is kind of bad, though it spends 2/3 of itself not going anywhere. Finally starts developing, doesn't really make sense. Despite all this, I've had fun and will continue chipping away at the game to finish off the last few bits I care about, primarily orbital elevator mode. So, it seems like um, it was a gacha game with monetization. They stripped it all out, and it's like a weird offline Mega Man. I don't know if it's actually just like a straight up. It says it's a 2D side scroller RPG. I don't know if it's. Is it a platformer still? Like, I don't know. This one just seems really weird. Like, I'd never heard of X Dive,
No. No.
so I had no idea about this. And I heard that it was a offline version of a gacha game, so I thought that was interesting to talk about. But yeah, that came out the 1st September. If you're interested in the Mega Man games, then next up, Tony, we have I can't remember what this Starfield game came out on the 6th September.
Yeah.
In the famous
I
words
thought it
of
was called
Todd
Cornfield.
Howard, just upgrade your PC. I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw that. It was like it was on Bloomberg. Todd Howard was asked, Todd, why didn't you optimize Starfield? And he was like, actually, we did. Just upgrade your PC. So there you have it, guys. Just buy a new PC. Thanks, Todd. The new 16 times the detail.
We've had it just work 16 times the detail,
It's
and
the
now
new
we've got just upgrade your
don't you guys
PC.
have phones? Don't,
Yeah, it's that as well.
guys, don't you guys just upgrade your PCs? Play games?
You think you
Okay.
do,
Now I
but
have
you
to talk
don't.
about this game coming out on the 6th September because I'm so fucking pissed off with this early access shit. This game released on Steam and Games Pass on September 6th,
Yep,
but if you bought the
yep.
Starfield Digital Premium Edition, which costs 85 fucking Great British pounds, um, it gave you like 6 days early access, like 5 or 6 days early access. Um, and this meant the game was not technically released, so you could not leave a review for it. It was
Mm-hmm.
not released in early access, so you also didn't have the early access tag. It was the Starfield's
Nope.
own early access. Um,
Yep.
but
They basically released a beta copy that was actually just the full game.
yeah, which meant you couldn't give
It's how
reviews
they
for it.
managed it.
They
Yeah.
also didn't give any review copies to the UK until the actual release date, which some people think is due to the fact that the UK rating board for Metacritic um, do not believe in half stars. So if anyone was to give the game a 4.5 stars out of 5, it gets automatically um, rounded down to 4 stars. So maybe they were worried about
Which is
it dragging down
which
the
is still pretty
Metacritic
good
score.
though. Yeah.
Because if you don't like, if you ask me what the Metacritic score for any game is, I will say I have no fucking idea. I do not read Metacritic.
Yep.
But
I don't
a lot of
care.
game developers, from what I've
Bethesda
heard,
included.
basically they give
Yep.
out bonuses based on Metacritic scores. Metacritic scores sells game ideas, it sells sequels. Like if you want to develop a game sequel, you have to go, our last game made this many points on Metacritic. You should invest in it. It's like an actual statistic to show your investors, which is
Yeah.
why so
I would
many companies rely on Metacritic scores.
Yeah, I would argue it's really a an abstracted statistic of the what really is like player experience and like reviewer or critic acclaim. But yeah, I mean, if you want a lazy way, just read the Metacritic. I guess that's their opinion.
Yeah, there
I
was
think I
this
think that, I
early
think there are much better ways to deal with that.
there was this early access shit with Diablo 4 where you could pay for 4 days early access if you
Yeah,
bought the digital Lux edition, which was like another £20, similar
because
to the £25 of this
yeah,
one, which I did
it's
not
always a
pay
similar
for
price at the moment.
because I was like, this is dumb. I'm not going to
I
pay for
don't think
four
anyone should
days for
pay
early
for.
access.
Yeah,
But that's an online game, right? This is a single player
technically.
game that you
Yeah,
are paying £25 for like 5 days early access. Like
my my
this early
interpretation of
access
this
stuff
that there's
sucks.
yeah, they have a release date, and all they're doing is pushing back the release date for most people, so they could charge extra for it. It's just such a sleazy
So many
business
people are
move.
going to be
Even for an
playing
online
this
game,
on
it doesn't
Games
make
Pass as well,
sense.
and the Games Pass version doesn't release until the 6th. So many
Hmm.
people are just either sat there twiddling their thumbs while everyone else is playing it, or they're going, "Oh,
Yeah,
everybody else is playing this, so I was going to play it on
maybe
Games
I.
Pass, but maybe I'll buy the digital premium
Yeah,
edition."
yeah. I'll spend the extra money.
Which I think is like, I think this is super scary.
Yeah,
Do you want to say
yeah,
something really funny though, Tony? Um, because the game hadn't released and people were able to play the game early, streamers like Quinn69, he played like 25 hours and he requested a refund and was given a full refund despite playing he finished the game because when they release this in early access, it is still technically an unofficial early access. It's still technically a
yeah.
pre-order, and Steam's policy on pre-orders is you can cancel them at any time you want. So with this early
Which makes
access,
sense.
you could buy the digital premium edition, play the entire game, and then cancel your pre-order, getting back all of your money while still playing the game. Which I'm not advocating for people to do, but if Bethesda want to play tricky games, tricky stuff is going to
Yeah,
happen to them. I
yeah.
mean,
I
that's
agree.
how the Steam policy works. And unless they change that and maybe go, okay, early access is not a pre order, but if you want to release an early access state, you're going to have to allow Steam reviews. You're going to have to offer maybe, you know, extend the window for refunds a little bit, you know?
All I'm gonna say is, if okay, either way though, if you have an early access release, which is basically the full version, that is your release date, and that should have to go out to reviewers. I think we should just get rid of the this stupid tiered nonsense entirely.
Some of the
But
some of the other
at least
stuff
agree on that.
that stuff has been called out for. Did you know that the Xbox version has native HDR support in it? Do you know the PC version does not for some reason? So the Xbox version uses native HDR, whereas the PC version uses auto HDR, which I
I
believe is a
would
Windows 11 feature.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's Windows 10 has like a force on, but it's not auto. Windows 11 has a much better system for that.
hmm.
Um, I guess it's possible though that they tried their implementation, like tried to get work on PC and went, oh, the auto HDR just works way better.
Well, apparently the auto HDR on PC actually looks better than the native HDR
Uh,
implementation for the Xbox,
okay, fair
according
enough.
to John Linneman of Digital Foundry. And you can even
I
mod
probably
in
went.
HDR support with stuff like Special K, which is a engine
I
upgrade
think it's
sort
a
of thing.
breakfast. I think it's a breakfast cereal,
And it's a
isn't it?
breakfast well, it adds stuff like properly paced 30 FPS
Yeah,
caps. You can do
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
tons of really cool stuff with Special K.
It's like
Um,
engine tweak sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, unrelated to Starfield, John Lemon DF said AMD sponsored games added. He spoke to like 3 developers who said they added DLSS in development for an AMD sponsored game and were told to remove it before launch. Like they were specifically told not to put DLSS into the game, even though it
Yeah,
was very easy to implement. This is not related to Starfield, but Starfield was an AMD sponsored game.
that doesn't have
So
DLSS.
that's all I'm saying.
hmm
So apparently this game does not run on a hard drive. So if you're trying to run this on a hard drive, you're going to have a very bad time. It seems like the game was like stuttery. Like I think the SSD's the recommended, right? Um, the main menu to active save on an SSD is 15 seconds. The hard drive load time is 1 minute 32 seconds.
Oh my god.
Entering
Okay.
lodge load goes from 3 seconds to 31 seconds. Uh,
Yep.
Takeoff to
Okay.
orbit, 22 seconds to 46 seconds. Like,
I feel like this is an engine problem more so. I feel like SSD is like brute forcing an engine problem more so than it's like, oh, they're using specific technology that just requires an SSD. It's kind of disappointing.
yeah.
But another reason for SSDs to they're good. Just can't add
But
something
people
for
were
bulk
having like
storage.
a lot of issues using hard drives. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it seems like the time is coming for. I don't even like the time is coming for hard drives.
I
You should
mean,
have an SSD,
yeah.
but I also think
It's only
I actually I don't think Starfield is as optimized as it could be. Like it's still
no,
the
no, no,
I think
absolutely not.
Starfield not being
I
optimized is one of its biggest strengths and weaknesses. Its strength is that
yeah,
the creation engine allows modders to be like, "Oh, I've modded this in day one." Whereas
yeah.
its biggest weakness is, you have massive CPU bottlenecks. You have like
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a hard drive fix at
tons
some
of
point
bugs
once they
from
realize what
like
the problem
Fallout
is.
4 and Skyrim.
Yes, yes. The same
Um,
engine issues, yeah.
and from what I've heard, it still needs tuning on Steam Deck. I think SteamOS put out a specific update to help the Starfield run on the Steam Deck, but there
I
still
did
needs
see
to
a mod
be.
trying to help with it
There's
as
a
well.
mod for performance as well. Yeah, cool to
Yeah,
see. I think you can get around 30 maybe, but I think it still needs a bit more tuning.
yeah.
Um,
Like, so I assume ideally you want like 40 for this game, right?
I think a 30 FPS lock is fine. I mean, it's running at 30 on
Okay.
both the Series X and the Series S. Like the game is built around 30 FPS. Like the
Okay. But even with
animations
the
and
shooting stuff.
the animations and stuff are running at 30
Yeah,
FPS.
yeah. I was
The
thinking in terms of the shooting and the combat mechanics, is that but that you think 30 is fine for that as well?
Yeah. Um,
Okay.
my mind on 30 FPS is very different when it comes to the deck. As like when
Right.
you're looking at especially slower paced, especially smaller screen stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's very different Like I was playing Kirby's Dream Buffet at 30 FPS. It was fine. Like not every game needs to be running at 40 FPS,
Oh
60
no,
FPS.
yeah,
40 FPS and 60 FPS are a luxury, especially with these AAA games. Like for me, a
yeah.
majority of my time on the Steam Deck is playing indie games and emulated games, and
I just
usually,
thought maybe like first person shooting, you'd want it to be higher.
yeah, I mean, 40 FPS would be ideal, but obviously, you're going to have to give up quite a lot to get there, and on such a small display,
Yeah,
like running at like 240p internal resolution is going to be ineligible on that tiny screen with
yeah,
FSR or something. So,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of Starfield mods. There's a Starfield mod that turns space travel into an actual series of loading screens by getting rid of all the ship landing and takeoff scenes. So, if you don't like any of there's a lot of like animations that play, um, that are like, oh, this is covering up loading screens, but some of them are just literally playing to play. They're not actually covering up loading screens. Like sometimes like door opening and stuff is just a door opening for aesthetics and it actually doesn't it isn't coming up a loading screen. You can get in and out of buildings faster without that sort of stuff. Because the series it's designed around an SSD of the Series X and S, obviously from its very poor hard drive performance,
yeah,
but yeah, it's interesting to see. Because every time you went through a narrow corridor in a PS4 game, you went, "Oh, that's a loading screen." And every time, like you see the new Ubisoft Star Wars game, and it's like flying up into the clouds, going into
yeah,
space, and you're like, "Oh, that's
yep.
a loading screen."
That's definitely a loading screen. Yeah,
Um,
a
I'm
cool one,
sure, I'm
but
sure
yeah.
some of these are covering up loading screens, but a majority of them are actually just added on, sort of thing, which is interesting to see.
There's animations are part of the scene. Yeah,
Uh, Your Docs DLSS 2 and 3 has been added. So DLSS 2 is up on the Nexus for free, and then the DLSS 3 mod is adding frame generation paid. If you don't want to pay for it, don't worry. There is also Luke FZ has made his own free version of DLSS 3 mod. So there is free versions. There's like several different free versions of DLSS running. Um, and don't be confused because as I was talking to Tony and I was saying, DLSS naming scheme is so fucking confusing at this point. So
yeah.
DLSS
It was linear.
3.5 has been modded into Starfield. This is not 3.5 as in ray reconstruction. This is not DLSS 3 as in frame generation, although that is an optional mod as well. And yeah, so DLSS 2 and on is also any iteration of that is the version number, and then FG is frame generation and RR is ray reconstruction, but they're named confusingly. So it sounds
Yeah,
like
so it's
DLSS
just a better
3.5,
version.
yeah.
Yeah,
But it seems like with frame generation, a lot of cards are now being like the 4090 is actually able to crack that 120 FPS. Like I think
I got with the engine limit.
well, like the game is ridiculously optimized for like the Radeon cards, whereas the Nvidia cards are
Yeah,
like 20-30% behind. Like I don't know about this AMD sponsored game literally not running on Intel cards and having
yeah,
way worse performance for more powerful hardware on the Nvidia side, but yeah, it may be optimized for one specific vendor and not the other. Um, which is kind of a shame to see because and in a lot of Nvidia sponsored games they still add FSR and they still add
yeah.
XeSS, and it's a
But
shame
they still make sure it works on other cards.
and it's a shame to see that we've had to resort to modding to get this stuff into the game,
Yeah,
especially considering a modder drag and drop in DLSS into the game gives way better image quality on Nvidia cards than FSR2. Like I've seen the comparisons and the shimmering on like signs and in the distance on DLSS is so much better than FSR. Just
yeah.
like it's like noticeably different, better image quality. Um, which is a shame that
I feel like yes, I thought from what I've seen from other games that don't I have like FSR that don't have that, like they've had to like tweak the game to make it not do that. Whereas like I feel like DLSS is just like a much more robust system for that.
I thought this was going to be the launch title of FSR 3. It did not come out with FSR 3. But if you want to generate some frames, frame generation has been modded in for NVIDIA users. So, yeah, it seems
Yeah,
like.
what
So,
are
for
they
the actual, like.
expecting it?
Yeah, I thought this was going to be the launch title for
Yeah, I
FSR
thought it
3.
was.
We've seen so far for, like, benchmarks for Starfield. The number one card for Starfield is surprisingly enough, like, the 7900 XTX, which
Yeah,
shouldn't have a like 10 FPS performance increase over a
no,
4090 considering the difference
no,
in the cards. But it's
no.
like, yeah, it's like so the XTX is able to crack that 100 FPS, but you're getting like 93 FPS with a 4090 on 1080p ultra quality. This is a 1080p. You're not able to crack the 100 FPS on a 4090.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts. And then Todd's coming and going, well, we've optimized the game. You might just need to upgrade your PC. Upgrade from a 4090? I don't think so, Todd.
Two 4090s.
It's weird how they've done the settings. Like, ultra quality makes your game run at FSR quality mode, which is 67% resolution scale. Then if you change to high, it goes down on the resolution scale again. Medium makes it go down. So the
Yeah, 'cause
actual
you
FSR
can't turn it
slider,
off, right?
you can manually change the slider yourself, but switching the presets will change
The
the
preset
slider.
does, yeah, all presets have it on to some extent.
Yeah.
I just find crazy that's what they decided to do. And they're still having these issues.
Yeah. I think so. It's cool that we have the DLSS mod and we have the DLSS 3 mod because, again, I was saying, I think this is a game where you would prefer, you don't need insane input latency.
I was just, oh, that's the other thing to mention is that maybe some of these problems are not GPU related.
Yeah,
Some
I
of these
will.
are going to be NPC and like just really CPU heavy, and just like the creation engine is like terrible for like items and like number of objects on in a scene.
Well, they said they were going CPU heavy because they wanted to be like, they're doing like
Yeah,
procedural generation and they wanted to have every single item you place everywhere to always be in the same spot you left it, which is making
yeah,
the game very CPU heavy to constantly remember
yeah.
like where all these like potatoes are.
And
Um,
there's a reason why like older Bethesda games had very few NPCs in an
oh,
area
you
compared to like,
showed
what
me you
mods were
showed
put
me
in.
an image of potato mod.
Oh yeah,
For, is this
yeah,
is this is this for Steam Deck or just for like, you said it was for like
no,
1 GB cards?
yeah. It was like I was just randomly going through mods like, what the fuck is potato mode? It's like, oh, if you've got less than 1 GB of VRAM, here's the mod for you. It's like, who has a like? I had to go back to the 750 Ti before like you had like 1 GB of VRAM.
Yeah,
It's
I would.
just
Nice to see we
that's
have
from
DLSS 3 in the game.
2013. So 10 years ago, you got less than a 1 GB. I mean, I'm sure people run it, but yeah, I don't think people expect to be running.
Really like to see an optimization patch from
Yeah,
Bethesda,
yeah, we need
especially
that
in
like
terms of
heavy on
Nvidia
their end.
and especially Intel cards.
I
Like
will say this though: if you think that the patch will not cause debugs, you'll be sorely mistaken. I'm
yeah,
predicting it now.
yeah. If you want
There
to get
will
the
be more
free
bugs added.
version, um, there is Luke FC's mod, free DLSS 3.
Yeah,
Star
there's a lot of
UI has
options
been
out there.
added. People were already complaining
Yeah,
about the UI being cluttered and not well
so
laid out.
I believe this is like a changed version from the Fallout UI, like equivalent, which I find interesting. Like it has a lot of similarities with what I'm seeing, but that might just be because Starfield has very Fallout similarities.
Yeah, it seems very similar in like a lot of things with like Fallout
Yeah,
476 sort of stuff.
yeah,
Obviously, I would say I think the NPCs do look a lot better. Like, it is a
yep,
jump
yep,
up
yep.
from like Fallout 4 and especially Skyrim sort of level
I think
NPCs.
Gavin was saying this that you lost a lot of FPS when you were in a conversation with an NPC because they had like such high detail. models,
Yeah, so
which is fair enough. I think
every
that's the way to
time
go.
every time you're in a conversation, it turns on depth of field,
Yeah,
which actually costs you performance, but you're only
you
ever
slow down.
you only ever triggers when you're inside these conversations. So
Yeah,
it
and
probably wouldn't
it's
be
not
worth
fast
turning
paced
on.
gameplay, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fine trade off. It's just yeah, it's just a shame there's not. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, Joe. This game came out in exactly the state I was expecting it. Like I'm
Yeah.
not surprised by any of this.
I will say, like, I don't know. I don't know if you've heard about the story, but it seems like from what I've seen, I haven't gone too much into like spoiler stuff, but
No, I haven't
it
either.
seems like very much they're doing like you are the chosen one thing again.
Yep, yep.
Whether
That's Todd Howard's. Todd Howard really likes those stories.
like Skyrim, you are the Dragonborn. You must
Yes.
go and get all the dragon shouts, and it's like
Yeah. In
Starfield.
Fallout.
You found some mining ore. You are the chosen one.
Yeah.
You have to go and find all this ore around the
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah. In Fallout 4, like, you're the one that's like connected to the big project. You have to go and find
Oh
them.
yeah, you're the
You can only be the good guy.
well. Fallout games are always about finding your family members. In Fallout 3, you're finding your
Yeah.
dad. In Fallout
Yep.
4, it's about finding your
Son.
son because your wife gets killed at the start of
Yeah.
the game, I believe.
Well, or your husband.
Your partner gets killed at
Yeah.
the start of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sky UI's out. Skyrim Script Extender's already out. Script Extender is a very popular mod that allows more advanced mods to be made
Yeah.
for the Bethesda. Did I say Skyrim Script Extender? I meant to say Starfield Script Extender.
Didn't Gavin just keep calling it Skyfield, didn't he?
Yeah. And apparently, Starfield already has a community patch currently with over 80 issues listed. So they are already working on making a community patch for Starfield, which I find hilarious considering
Yeah.
Bethesda's past games have.
Again, I don't find it surprising. I knew it was going to be in the creation engine. I knew it wouldn't be that much upgraded, and I knew they're just
We'll
working with
cap
what
off
they've got.
this. We'll cap off this Starfield mod talk with. Todd Howard said Starfield mod support is on the way next year. I'm like, you're a bit slow, Todd.
I think. Well, they have their own in-game mod stuff, don't
Oh,
they? So like, I think it's all about
what's their
that
Creation
Creation Club
Club?
stuff.
Is that coming
Yeah,
to consoles next
and I
year?
will tell you now, Creation Club stuff gets in the way of other mods, and it's just
Oh,
like
good.
just such a pain in the
Well, they're going to
ass.
re-release Starfield in a couple of years with fishing. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. I have not got Skyrim Anniversary Edition. They can fuck off.
Move on to quick news. Bethesda's removed Denuvo from Doom Eternal. I was talking to my friend who got Games Pass recently. He was saying like, "Oh, all the Doom games are on here apart from Doom 2016." I was like, "There's no way Doom 2016 is not in Games Pass." He's like, "No, it's not." And I'm like, "Oh wait, you're right, it's not." Apparently, Doom 2016 has Steamworks API hooks in it for multiplayer, which would have to be stripped out completely to get it to run on Games Pass or GOG. So
Right.
it's currently not on Games Pass, but I assume they'll do that at some point. Now Denuvo's gone, or like I don't know if it's. I I assume they want Doom
Is
2016 on
it?
Games Pass because it's a big
Yeah.
game for them. So
I assume Microsoft wants to do this more than id, right?
so we have Baldur's Gate 3 companions were overly horny due to a bug. It seems like they were not supposed to be this horny, so they've actually been nerfed thanks to this bug fix. So I feel like
I can't wait for the mods to add it back.
I feel like most Baldur's Gate 3 players right now are like, God damn it, why did you fix this? This is such a
Yeah,
feature.
guys, there'll be a horny mod. Here we go.
Yeah. Will this impact the Sex Any Percent speed run? We'll have to wait and see about that.
Oh, dear.
And then we also have
That's
Star
so
Wars
funny.
Jedi Survivor got patch 7, which added DLSS support. So Jedi Survivor now officially supports DLSS. It was another AMD sponsored title.
Yep.
But weirdly didn't have DLSS at launch. I don't know why that was, but it now has it. And they've also updated the performance mode for the Xbox Series X and PS5, which had ray tracing turned on the performance mode, and the frame rate was all over the place. And it seems like
Yeah,
they've gone, oh, let's optimize that, and um, they've basically turned off the ray tracing for the performance mode to get a solid 60 FPS, which I think is probably the right call,
yeah,
considering the power of the
absolutely.
consoles, and having a 60 FPS mode is going to be good for a game like that. They've also
Maybe
said
in the
they've done
PS6.
optimization improvements for PC, so we'll have to wait and see if the game's still a bit of a stuttery mess sometimes, but
Yeah,
hopefully this gets better. I mean, the game itself seems really cool, and seeing
yeah,
them actually work on fixing it is a cool move. So
yeah. But I feel like in the state it was in, I thought like you kind of have to.
yeah,
So I think it's looking to a patch 10 for like Horizon Zero Dawn to be in a very good state. So I don't know. We'll see. Just feel like it's gonna be one of those things. Just like we have to wait a while.
people have been saying with this game first launch, I was smart. I didn't trust EA. Then I bought it after patch 7, and now still don't trust EA. So it seems like people are saying patch 7 may not have fixed all the problems the game had.
No, I doubt it. I'm saying I feel like I don't know. I feel like the bugs are like not too big, but it's like kind of like fundamentals is like kind of tricky to solve and like keep the fidelity they want, like keep like the artistic vision. Just like a tricky trade-off.
It's in a quick news. Let's move on to mods. Uh, Dark Messiah modding. So, there was a mod for Dark Messiah Might and Magic, which is like one of Arcane's like first big project. They had like Fatalis. Was it Arc Fatalis? Is that the name of the game? Was like one of their first big games, and then they worked on Dark Messiah Might and Magic. You may not know this, but Dark Messiah Might and Magic was essentially like a fantasy first-person RPG where you get to kick people off castles, and
Yeah,
then they
I
went
have
on to
seen like bits of it.
they went on to make Dishonored, which is a fantasy game where you go around castles kicking people
Yeah,
off cliffs, and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, but it's a really cool game. Like you can put like ice spells on the floor, and yeah, it has like lots of cool,
yeah.
dare I say,
It's an interest.
immersive sim systems where you have
Yeah,
different spells that interact with each other in unique ways.
yeah. It was at the time very interesting.
But the developer working on this co-op mod was like, "Oh, I need to basically, in order to get this to work properly, I need to move the game into a new DirectX pipeline." And then he was like, "Wait, if I move it into this DirectX pipeline, I can add RTX Remix onto it." So it seems like
This is
Darkness,
feature if I've ever heard it.
yeah, Dark Messiah Magic is getting a RTX Remix, and it looks really good so far from what I've seen.
Yes. Yeah, so it's funny like lighting like changes some of these scenes drastically.
Yeah, but yeah, basically because it was, I think it was published by Ubisoft. They basically reached out to Ubisoft and said, "Hey, can we work on this mod for co-op and RTX and stuff?" And Ubisoft came back and said, "Yeah, sure." So they have
Uh,
the Ubisoft approval now. So
sometimes you can trust the French.
yeah, it's cool to see from Ubisoft because usually Ubisoft are
Yeah.
pretty assholes. So
Yeah,
looking forward to playing
they're not normally modding
look,
assholes though.
looking forward to playing Dark Messiah RTX.
Yeah.
Um, then we have Steam Deck. Okay, this is where I'll talk about my news, Tony. I'm going to
Alright, I'll put time
stream to
down.
you.
Okay. You told me, and I
Yeah,
quote, my nuts are gonna start quaking.
I may have oversold it there.
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to start. Maybe they'll start quaking because it's cool.
Yeah. So
It's
you were trying to you were trying to like add stuff in through Linux terminal stuff
yeah. I want
that
you to
went
watch. I want you to watch this video I
yeah,
recorded on my Steam Deck and tell me if you notice anything weird.
okay.
Okay, I'll just play it out for you. I'm just scrolling my game library. I'm gonna play some Blasphemous. Gonna hit play.
Yeah.
Open up. Blasphemous.
Okay. Okay.
Just gonna go to the game menu. I think that's some footage where I just launched the game and stopped playing it, but I was using Decade Recorder to record this, and Decade Recorder is one of those things where half the time it just crashes and doesn't work. Like it's nice to have an option to
Right.
record stuff, but sometimes
Yeah.
it's just like, no, I will not work. Did you notice anything
Okay.
strange about that footage?
Uh, is it really obvious? Because I did not see any. I don't know if I'm missing something.
Well, I'll just point. Okay, Tony, this game has playtime. I don't own this game on Steam.
Oh, you don't know on
This
Steam.
is
Oh, okay.
This game is running through the Amazon Games free game library, and it has playtime for a non-Steam app. That is thanks
Okay.
to some new Decky plugins called Playtime, which adds playtime to non-Steam games, which is what I've been asking for forever. I've been like,
Yeah.
please add playtime to non-Steam games, because I'm always curious how much time I'm spending on them. And I'm
It's just
using
launching it from
Lutrous
the.
to play my
Ah.
Amazon. I've been like, oh, I've got all these free games on Amazon Games, and I'd never play them. And I was saying, like, I think it was on the last podcast, I was like, I have Blasphemous, and I was like, I should play it. I was like, that'd be a good game to play on my Steam Deck. And I was like, wait a minute, maybe I
Oh
should
yeah.
just install this
Yeah.
onto my Steam Deck through Amazon and test this stuff out. Tony, I played it a bit on my Steam Deck. Oh, here's me fighting. So this is the start of the game,
yeah.
where the game's like,
Yes.
this is a boss,
Yeah.
because it's like a 2D Souls-like sort of game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I immediately killed the tutorial boss because I'm a god. I had no idea what I'm
Yeah.
doing, but I actually managed to kill the boss first time. Which
I
was cool.
quite like this, like how to start you off in the game. Like I feel like it taught me quite a bit about what I should expect. So I'm okay with it.
Immediately, I started playing this game, and I'm like, man, this game looks so cool. And then I see like the animation, I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like it's like one of those things where it's like really weird, like gory, like horror, like fantasy stuff. Yeah. Hang on, I'll
dark fantasy, grotesque. Yeah, I like this sort of stuff. Like
it goes from this pixel art to like this close up, like more like 2D animation.
Yeah.
But look at this. Like you cover the boss, and then you like put his blood into the helmet, and then you wear it. And I'm like, what are you doing? What is going on? I'm like, this shit's fucking metal. It's cool.
But he's doing it with such conviction, like he's done this before.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm gonna play a bit of this game. So I played a bit on my Steam Deck, and then this is me playing on my PC, and then I'm gonna save the game, and here's me carrying on the game from my Steam Deck.
Oh, that's huge.
Not from Steam. There is no Steam cloud being used here.
So is it so it's pulling it from the Amazon stats?
So I'm using a Steam Deck plugin called Steam Cloud Save, and basically every time you have to tell it where your save is being saved. So you have to manually input the save, but as soon as I stop playing on the Steam Deck, it takes my save game file and uploads it to my Dropbox. So I then can immediately take that and put it onto my PC, where I just started picking up from my save file and started playing on my PC. And then I took that PC save file, and then I put it on my Dropbox, and then I put it back onto my Steam Deck.
That's such a clever way to do like your own vote. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
And then I was like, is there a way to do this manually? Is there a way to not do this manually? And I went down that rabbit hole, and I did it. But my God, there was so much effort went into it.
So this we had to get rid of the console and put in commands and install.
Yeah, so I was telling you about how. So there's a way where you can get Dropbox to auto run in game mode, and then you create like a path link between. So you link where the game writes the same file to a folder on your Dropbox. So whenever it puts the save file into your Dropbox, it
Yeah.
whenever it rewrites the game file in the actual game directory, it also writes it directly into your Dropbox while
Yeah,
also
yeah, yeah.
having the
So
path saved.
you're doing a symbolic link
And
to
there,
the
yeah,
folder.
it's
Yeah.
like a symbolic link, which
Yeah.
is a native Linux feature. But in order
Yeah.
to do this on Windows, you actually have to go into the Windows console and do this because this is not on Linux. You
Yes.
can right click on a folder and you can just do it.
There.
And then on Windows, you have to go into a command prompt and like actually physically type all the
I
stuff in. I had to
wanna
do some stuff in the
say.
console on Linux, spelled with a K, by the way,
Yeah.
because it's a console.
Yeah. 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 I was gonna say, I think there might be a Windows tool to do this for you. I don't know why that sort of linking is not exposed in Windows by default. It is very annoying. But yeah, you normally just have to just do it through the console
Then
terminal
you
stuff.
set Dropbox to auto run on your PC, and then
Yeah,
basically when as soon as you have this set up for your game, launching it on your playing on your Steam Deck, and then switching to your PC or any other device you set this up on, it will just take from the exact same save file that's saved on your cloud drop service like Dropbox or Google Play or whatever, Google Drive or
yeah,
whatever, and essentially you can set up your own cloud save server, which is a massive pain
yeah,
in the fucking ass because
yeah.
you have to do it on a per game basis.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, you're just taking the save file from because you have to. The game wants to save in a specific location, and then you then
Yeah.
have to tell that game to save to there, but also symbiotic link it to your Dropbox as well.
Yeah, I would just assume there's some sort of like nice script that would like try and do it for you, and then like have
But
some sort
then,
of UI to
but the
like
thing is,
settings for it.
you'd have to have a script that works on Linux, Windows, random handhelds, like any system, like
Yeah.
having it set up and working. Like I have so much appreciation for Steam cloud saves.
Oh
After
yeah,
setting up my
yeah.
own like cloud saves. Like in the past, I was like
Yeah.
I was manually doing cloud saves by just whenever I played on my Steam Deck, I would just drag and drop it into my Dropbox, and having
Yeah.
the option to have it automatically pull over with the Steam Decky plugin cloud save is really useful. I think I'm going to use that in the future. Where I just go, it's saved here, and I'll just manually move it back and forward when I want to play.
Yeah.
But yeah. I also set up a new plugin called Tab Master, which is really cool as well. So your Steam Deck has things called tabs on it, and you cannot edit them or add new ones by default. This Decky plugin lets you add your own, hide default ones, and it's super useful because there's too many of them. I have like 3. I have one for my single player games, I have one for my emulated games, and I have one for
Yeah.
party games, and it's super
Yeah.
easy to just switch between them.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. What are the default ones then? Like, what the hell is it trying to do?
The default ones are in all games, installed, great on deck, collections,
Oh, okay.
non-Steam games. Yeah, there's a bunch of default ones you cannot turn off, and navigating those tabs with the bumper keys is super useful. And
Yeah.
you can set like advanced filters for your tabs as well. So you can be like, I want only games that are locally installed on my whitelist or my blacklist, and I want them to only select apps that are of a certain install size or have been released since this point or have this rating on deck compatibility or are on Steam or non-Steam or how much. That it basically a lot of people talk about like how good the other gaming handhelds are for performance, and I'm just like, this in the same way Starfield is such a powerful game because of the powerful community
Yeah.
Bethesda has. The Steam Deck,
Yeah.
the Steam community for the Steam Deck is so good at just getting these
Yeah.
features up and running. It is so powerful and it is so cool
And
to
they
see.
and they chose an operating system and a way to like have it where it's like just exposed and makes it
Yeah,
easier
it's to
for
a
that
point where
community to
I
be
have so
built
many
around.
Decky plugins installed, and it's like my Steam quality is so much better compared to on SteamOS compared to native Steam, and using the Steam browser with the extensions like Augmented Steam and the Steam DB um, plugin on Chrome and Firefox and stuff is so much better than native Steam that I always want to use, the non-native version of Steam. with the
Yeah, yeah.
plugins.
Very useful features. You just almost can't live without.
If you haven't installed Decky and use Decky plugins on your Steam Deck, highly recommend you do it. It's super easy to install Decky, and as soon as you have Decky loader installed, it's just one click install for plugins. It's
Yeah,
super
I
useful.
in my search also there are a couple of people like getting you like there's like tutorials like it's like walking through these things if you're not used to like these sorts of tinkering. So like there are things that really help, and I think they do good. At least what I don't own a Steam Deck, but they do a good. From what I can
As
tell,
a Steam
is
Deck
a
owner, I
good
can tell you
walkthrough.
they do good.
Yeah, you can follow the walkthrough.
Yeah, I followed like for emulation. I followed Retro Game Corp's guide on setting up Emu Deck. By the way, if you are interested in setting up emulation on your Steam Deck, Emu Deck can set up Decky for you, so you don't have to install Decky manually, even though it's super simple. So if you're interested in emulation, just install Emu Deck from the Emu
Yeah,
Deck website.
I'm
When
really
that
looking forward to buying my refurbished Steam Deck so I can do all of this.
when that comes out, yeah.
Yeah, and I can start adding my Hall effect
Well,
joysticks. Oh,
there's been rumors recently about a new Van Go iteration of the. I think Van Go is the name of the APU the Steam
yeah,
Deck uses. Um,
yeah.
there's been a like listing shown
It's
of
like
like
overclocked
a
version.
different iteration of the Steam Deck's APU. People think it might either be like a refresh of the Steam Deck, maybe with like a better battery or screen or something, or it could be
Mm,
potentially Deckard if they are actually ramping up to releasing
yeah.
the new Steam VR
I
headset.
it, where how was this leaked? Was this leaked like in a
A
database or like a
data mine stuff, yeah.
data mine stuff? Okay.
Think it may have been like a classification board
One
as well, maybe.
okay. One other option might be it might be a refresh where it's like the chip technically is changed, but it's like still very similar, just like manufacturing changes. That is also a possibility. So normally you can get away with saying it's like the same chip if you're doing that. So yeah, I think the other two might be some more plausible.
I wonder was wait, I'm just so if you're interested in like specifically like VR stuff or specifically like Steam VR data mine leaking stuff, Brad Lynch, sadly it's Bradley on YouTube and Twitter has like all of the information on this sort of stuff. Um he was saying
Just data
like
mining all the data
a few
all the
months ago,
stuff.
there was a new Steam sub, which was basically bundles of game that can be added to an account with a game key activation for maybe press/Valve dev testing. The first
Yeah.
game added to the sub was Half-Life Alyx, among with other VR titles. Today, more were
Oh,
added. So it's like a bunch of VR titles have been added to an internal Steam thing for
interesting.
testing. So
That sounds like Deckard then. We're leaning towards.
there's so much like pointing towards the new Steam VR headset. Like the copium levels are
Yeah.
off the chart that Valve will actually do something.
Yeah. I yeah. I mean there's maybe not good evidence, but like I feel the evidence like is enough to like point to it and I do want it to exist. If we believe strong enough, can we believe stuff into existence?
We can will it into existence, yes.
Yeah, sort of like Warhammer 40k is just like just will it like the orcs.
I was looking for a Steam Deck plugin, and then I was like, oh, I'll just search GitHub for it, and I'm like, oh, there'll be way too many things in GitHub to be able to
Yeah,
actually just find this thing by searching.
you can
Here you go. I just googled it.
yeah,
This is
okay,
the
good work.
Steam Deck playtime. It actually will break down your playtime for like the week and the month and
Oh,
say, hey,
actually,
yeah.
oh,
As well as
that's really
adding that
that's
little
even
thing that
better.
says, oh, how much you've been playing
Ah,
underneath it. It'll be like, you've played this much game this week or this day or stuff like that. I think it can track it for it can track it for Steam games as well.
that's so good. That's a feature I really want. I just find it really interesting to look back and go, oh, okay. Because
Yeah,
like
usually we have to wait for those like
Steam
end of
has this
year things.
information, it just doesn't show it in the default
Yeah,
app.
but you have like games you've played in the last 2 weeks on
Yeah,
your Steam profile.
but like,
Recent game
remember at the end
activity.
of like last year, it was like, oh, these are the months you played these games the most, and it's like so it has the information, the breakdown. It just doesn't. It only shows last 2 weeks and then total. It's like you could show more information. Like I'm not saying it should be shown right there. I just think you could add like a more like a little eye or outside info button to show more.
Move on. The Legion Go. I
That's
don't know
really
if
cool
you've
though.
been following. Speaking of Steam Deck slash handhelds, Legion Go is
I've not.
priced at €800 with a 8.8
Yeah,
inch
I saw the price.
QHD screen, non
Yeah,
VRR. So I believe it
yeah,
supports. I think it goes up to like 144. So it goes
yeah. I would have.
above. It's
It's 144. I thought.
2560 times 1600, so it's above 444. It's above 1440p. It's around that quality. It's a
Why?
144
Okay.
hertz panel, but I think you can
Why
basically
did they
have
go
it at
such a
like,
high resolution?
I don't know. It can go to 60. I think it can do 60, 120 or 144, but it can't switch between them like VRR. You have to like manually
Yeah,
change them.
yeah. That's kind of
Um,
silly.
and it also
That's probably panel.
can't go below 60. So you can't have like the 40 hertz
Yeah,
mode like on the Steam Deck
yeah.
or like
I
a
think
VRR
panels
mode
with
on
that functionality is a lot more expensive, and obviously the
the
controller needs to
Asus
be there as well.
ROG Ally. And
Yeah, I saw it's like it was more expensive than the ROG, and it's then not as. It just made less sense to me, other than like are they banking on the screen being better
well, the features they're
and the
adding is
removable
yeah, so it has the
joysticks, I
removable
suppose.
controllers with one you can put like it down on a puck and then you can use it like a mouse
Yeah,
um for like FPS games, which I was like I never use my handheld consoles at a desk, so this would make no
yeah,
sense for me. It would be super
yeah,
useful for when I need to troubleshoot stuff quickly, like with a mouse. That would be super useful. But
yeah,
apart from that, I mean, I either play it like when I'm out and about handheld, or I'll be sitting down at a chair or a sofa or something. I won't be by a table. Like
yeah.
I was playing Cat Quest earlier, sitting down on a chair. I was not at a desk.
Also, surely I don't know what your opinion is, but the trackpad like as using as a mouse like not good enough like for those sort of like you need to debug stuff.
It's not great. It's
Okay,
not. It.
you don't like
I
it.
think this would be a lot better than using trackpads to
Oh yeah,
debug stuff. Yeah, when you need,
I suppose it
especially
also seems a little bit awkward still, but yeah,
well, at the moment, I think you have to hit a button. The like, what's it called when you send out a review unit? There's like a
yeah,
non-final build. You have to push it into the puck, and then you press a button to switch it from handheld mode to FPS mode, and then you can like
right,
use one of the Joy-Con. Sorry, not Joy-Cons, not Joy-Con controllers to control um, the with like the movement with an analog stick, and then the other
yeah,
one you can use like a mouse. But it's like I think Dave 2D put out a video about the Legion Go where he was saying like it's cool, but it's like not a lot of games support the ability to use dual control in like
yeah.
using a controller while also using a mouse. Um, yeah, if you're interested in the Legion Go, definitely watch Dave 2D's video because he does like a full dive based on the review unit. Um,
Yeah, I was always like I always thought it was cool to be able to have like removable Joy-Con sort of things. I was
yeah,
like, when I was then looking at this, I then realized like actually, I personally don't want that, or maybe not don't want, but don't need that. So, uh,
yeah. I think it's around the same. It seems to be around the same size as a Steam Deck as well. Obviously, it'll be a bit smaller when
yeah,
you take those Joy Cons off, but
yeah, it's like a tiny tablet then, isn't it?
I can find the hockey puck. So apparently, in the full release, apparently, so once you get used to it, it is really smooth and good to use. Like it is comparable to
Okay,
a mouse sort of thing. Apparently
Yeah,
in
because
the
it looks like those ergo mouse that are like tilted, right? I think you can get used to those pretty quickly.
apparently in the full retail release, there'll be a magnet that sticks it into the puck, and it will automatically switch to FPS
Oh,
mode.
that'd be like a Hall effect. Yeah, not magnet.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so it should be a lot smoother when it comes out, but we'll have to wait and see once the full retail units go out to reviewers.
Yeah, I think it's maybe for me personally a bit gimmicky, but yeah, it's definitely an
I
innovation. I
think
think that
the
is
the
kind of
mouse
cool.
hockey puck thing is gimmicky. You want to hear what else is gimmicky? Um, they're doing like these VR AR goggles you can wear with them.
Oh
Um,
yeah, oh, I completely forgot about that.
these Lenovo Legion glasses that are like micro
Yeah,
OLED displays that you put on your
weren't they like
eyes.
only $100 less than the
I
handheld,
didn't
weren't
even
they?
look how much they cost because I was like, "There's no way I'm ever buying these."
It just didn't make any sense. What was it less than that?
The Lenovo Legion E510 gaming earbuds with RGB as well. Um,
Absolutely. That's what we.
that connect via USB-C with in-ear earphones. Okay, that's kind of weird. I think you probably would want to use a headphone jack for that because then you're using up one of your USB-C ports.
Yeah.
I don't know. Apparently, the Lenovo Legion glasses are set to launch in October 2023 with a starting price of £260.
Okay. So here, like $330. Okay, so that is like half the price then. Okay. It's still a lot for what they are, in my opinion, but that's more reasonable.
Here it's saying expected in October 2023 starting at $500 or 500 euros. So maybe they've changed the pricing around.
Yeah. I think that might be that sounds more like what the original numbers that I remember. So yeah, maybe they'll change it.
Maybe they've changed it around. I'm not sure.
Either way, that's only that'd be 200 less than the handheld.
But if it releases at like around 700, £800, it would actually be very competitive with the ROG Ally and the higher end Steam Deck.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought it had the non-overclocked version of the same chip than the ROG, I thought.
I believe it is the Z1 Extreme.
It is something so
I
extreme.
think it's releasing,
Okay.
but so if you don't know, the Asus ROG Ally has both. So the ROG Ally has the Z1 and the Z1 Extreme,
Right.
and the Legion Go has a Z1 and a Z1 Extreme. So I think they offer different
Okay.
SKUs. You can
Okay,
get both.
right. They're very similar.
I also think
I mean, I guess it's cool
this.
they're using the same processor.
I think another thing was the Z1 Extreme is a very hungry chip, and it required
Yeah.
like a lot more battery life. So people were saying with like the Asus ROG was yeah, you could turn it up, but then it would just chew your battery. Whereas with this, you can use it and it'll chew up your battery, but this actually comes with a much bigger battery as well,
Yeah.
which might make the Lenovo option quite appealing. We'll have to see again. I mean,
It
Armory Crate has been pretty good
yeah.
for Windows handhelds, but I think Windows handhelds are still, question mark with some of the Asus
Yeah.
BIOS updates being kind of
It
sus.
is cool that we have this class of chip that's able to do this. I think that's huge that the hardware's there and then the software is even just half there. It's kind of big compared to where we were in the past. I think it's a very good step. A very big step.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, it's so cool to see competition in this space that had
Yeah.
like no. I
Yeah.
think as soon as I mean, like GPD and Ioneo has been in this space for a while, but as soon as Valve came
Yeah,
out with
they were
Go,
the hobbyist, the
the
enthusiast
Steam
level,
Deck, and they
right?
sold what 1 million units, maybe 2 million units at this point.
I want to say it's maybe like 2 million at this point. Yeah,
Uh,
very successful despite
Valve
what
sold
some people
1.62
think.
units of the Steam in 2022. This is expected to grow to 1.85 million units in 2023. So it's probably around 1.5 to 2 million Steam, 1.5 to 2 million Linux PCs exist in the world.
Yeah,
There's
all I'm gonna
millions
say
of us.
is all I'm gonna say is I try and buy refurbished ones, which I know is less stock than the main ones, and they're out of stock. So
Well, for me, with the Steam Deck, I waited a year to get it because I was like, I have
yeah,
no idea what the experience is going to be like this. I would rather people test it out and waited a year
and
and then
develop
went,
stuff.
oh,
Yeah,
this actually looks really good still. I'm going to get one of these.
yeah. I guess the other thing that you have weighing is like the developers had time to make stuff that you'd like to use
Hmm.
that wouldn't exist otherwise.
Yeah. I believe this is out. It says arrives September 21st, so I think you can buy it now. Uh, I think you could just.
Interesting.
Where do you buy it from? Like I know ROG Ally, you could just buy it from Best Buy and stuff. Like it had retail
Yeah, yeah.
store.
Is it not on Amazon?
Look, or is it saying super rapid charge arrives September? Legion Go
It says
release.
it's coming soon on their website.
Yeah, where do you buy this? When is it coming out? Oh, it launches in October. Sorry. It's been unveiled on September 1st after having
Right.
an entire PowerPoint presentation detailing
Yeah,
all of its
they
specs.
announced the announcement.
Have you seen leaks recently about like VR and handhelds and stuff like that? It was like, oh my god, I found this leaked document that is an entire spec sheet, word for word, telling you everything that is inside the device. Man, I can't believe
Yeah.
they leaked this and definitely didn't use this to
Mhm.
generate hype about the device.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
I
move on to
can't,
oh,
it makes sense. I was saying it makes sense because like that's how like people are like, oh, like I found this thing. They want to like, it's like forbidden knowledge, right? So I guess, but yeah, kind of BS.
people are convinced every single Meta VR leak is just a way to generate press.
Yeah, it's like Google did the same, right? They like slowly
With the
leak it and they go,
Pixel
oh, we have
stuff,
an
yeah.
official, yeah.
And next up, we have Steam news. I don't know if you've seen this, Aaron, this is pretty cool. Steam is upping its DualShock and DualSense support. So Steam will soon start showing
Again.
information on store pages and in the client if a game supports the DualSense and the DualShock controller.
Oh, excellent. They actually, can we bring that back for VR
VR
stuff as well,
headsets,
please?
probably not. So Steamwork now has a
That's kind of
controller
cool though.
support questionnaire for developers to better describe the devices supported by the game. If your game plays well with
That's really
DualShock
good.
of DualSense, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, you can now specify that information in Steamworks. This
That's
is the first
great.
step towards helping players
I
find games that support the most commonly used PC video game controllers starting in
I
October.
I don't have to go to the humble what article I go to that keeps it up to date. But I don't keep going to
PC
that to
Gaming
figure out
Wiki,
what
or
features does. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That is still being kept up to date as far as I can tell. Last time I looked.
yeah, that's really good.
So
So, Tony, does this mean the end of our old friend partial controller support?
I hope not. I miss partial controller support.
But yeah, you'll see this little image here. It'll be like supports Xbox controllers, supports DualShock, supports
Yeah,
DualSense, and
USB
Tony, it even
only.
says
Oh, that's
USB
cool.
only.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay.
So it'll show if it's wireless or if it has to be wired. That's good to see.
Yeah, because for whatever reason, sometimes it doesn't, depending on what you've like set the game to do, like sometimes it doesn't play nice with wireless. I
Yeah,
don't know
is
why,
when
but
the
yeah, it's weird.
DualSense came out, it seems like Steam added a bunch of support for that controller and was like,
Yeah,
yeah, we want to
they put their
support this
own
controller.
effort into getting it. Yeah,
As a person who owns
but I think it was the
two
right
DualSense
move.
controllers.
Good job, Steam, making it easier for console stuff on PC.
Valve has banned 90,000 Dota 2 Smurf accounts. These accounts
Is
have
that a
been
picture
linked.
of a Smurf?
Yeah, that's a Smurf being thrown. Do you know what a Smurf account
Okay.
is in online
Yeah,
multiplayer?
yeah,
So a Smurf
yeah. I know
account, to
what it is,
anyone that
but
doesn't know, is
yeah,
basically when you're highly rated in a game or you're rated higher than you are on your new account. You make a new account because you want to play against players that are worse than you and basically have fun like stomping all over them because you are actually a much higher rated. Or a lot of people smurf because they want to play with friends that are lower rated than them, which is not always
yeah.
malicious, but potentially you should just be playing a casual game mode if that's the case,
Yeah, yeah.
because
I
you
would say
are
like most.
in that way you're probably ruining the experience for other people.
I was just thinking is like there should really be a way to facilitate in the game. That I thought, wait, hang on a minute, they do have a way to facilitate that in most games. So yeah, you should really just be doing that.
But they've been able to link these to the person's main account and go, well, if you keep smurfing, we're actually just going to ban your account, because smurf accounts are used by players to avoid playing at the correct MMR. They abandon games a lot. They cheat a lot on those Smurf accounts. They like to grief people, be
Yeah,
toxic without consequence because they go, well,
yeah,
this is just my Smurf account. I don't care if I get banned on it. Well, you start being toxic, griefing, cheating on a Smurf account. They have found your main account and they will ban that as well. So this is Valve's warning shot, basically,
yeah.
which I think is it's always interesting to see what Valve does. Like I like the honeypot thing they did with Dota 2 recently, where they released like a check in the cheat software to show a random value that means nothing only to people using cheat software in Dota 2, so they could basically
Yeah,
find everyone that was using cheat software and then doing like a massive ban wave.
yeah. They have interesting solutions.
Talking about Valve and competitive stuff, Valve has updated Counter Strike 2's competitive. So now your skill rating will no longer be based on your global rating over several maps. It will be on a per map basis. You will have a
Oh,
ranking for Office, you will have a ranking for Dust, you will have a
that's
ranking
kind of
for
cool.
Anubis, you'll have a ranking for Vertigo. So if you are very good at a certain map but not very good at another, you'll be able to show that off. And they've also reduced the rounds on CS:GO. I believe, is it? No, it was 30 rounds. You would play 15 each. They've gone from 30 to 24. And I think if after 24 rounds you're still tied, you then play another 6 matches, like up to the 30 sort of thing.
Right.
And I think this was mostly done because um, competitive like esports games were going on a very long time and they didn't really need to. They were very much like over earlier. But people are saying this is going to like cutting these rounds out is going to put way more emphasis on pistol rounds because there's
Oh,
less length of the game. Winning
yeah,
pistol rounds is more important, and there's going to be less eco rounds where you're saving up to buy better equipment. You're going to be like instantly buying better equipment more quickly, sort of thing.
yeah. It's interesting, like that these sorts of things, like what balance and like what strategies then like get used. I think that's kind of just really hard to figure out what these
Well,
sort of things
they say in the
change.
trailer, you can jump in and try this new game mode now. Counter Strike 2 is still in closed beta. They have not. They said that they were releasing Counter Strike 2's Source 2 playtest in the open beta in the summer. And Tony, it's
Yeah,
sort of autumn
it's
right
over.
now,
It's in
so
different places of the world. It's still summer. It's still summer. It's
yeah, I don't know what's going on.
yeah, I
They are
definitely think
working
this that
on
one.
Valve time. So
Yeah.
this says coming summer 2023. Well, I can't wait for that. Benny, we've got move on to the blunders section, and then we'll end the
Oh, okay.
podcast. Google starts
I would
testing
look forward to
instantly
this.
playable online games on YouTube. Confused Stadia.jpg. What is this instantly playable video games that you could stream? Um, Back in June, reports began circulating that Google, fresh off its Stadia streaming flop, was looking to incorporate playable online games into YouTube. Well, we can now sling those reports on the correct pile. The tech giant's new feature is officially underway. So the
Wouldn't it
gist
be
of the new
hilarious
initiative:
if I was selected? That's why my YouTube's fucked.
this will enable users to instantly play online games via YouTube's website or iOS Android apps, and now, as confirmed on its YouTube test features and experiments, thanks to 9 to 5 Google testing is now live.
Yeah.
Man, imagine if there was a way to immediately stream games through a Google service.
Yeah.
I think these are more like Flappy Bird games. Though there's a game called Stack Bounce, a casual arcade game that challenges players to smash horizontally stacked bricks with a ball.
I just don't. Did we like? Okay. things like adding convenience to things like obviously helps a lot, but I think there's a point of diminishing returns of convenience. Did we need this level of convenience
I don't know.
for
Netflix has
a
been
select?
I've used my Netflix subscription to download games on the
Yeah,
iOS store. Like, what was it I played? It was Reigns Three Kingdoms. I tried. So if you have an active Netflix subscription and
yeah,
I think you have to link it somehow, but you can download a
yeah,
bunch of, I think like Spiritfarer, um, Reigns, a bunch of like indie games that run on iOS. You can just play them for free as part of your Netflix subscription. And I feel like nobody knows this. Like almost nobody
yeah.
I tell this is like, what? I didn't know that.
But I
They are
think
testing out this sort of stuff.
my question is then once you tell them this, do they use it?
Sorry, what did you say?
Once you tell them about this feature, do they ever start using it, or do you never? You've not done the
I mean, I used it, but I think the only game I play on my phone is Slay the Spire, which I own. Like
right?
I got a Steam Deck up, so
Yeah,
if I'm
true.
ever at a point where I'm like, oh, I'm in a remote place and I want to play a game, I pull out my Steam Deck now.
Yeah.
But I was at the cinema and I was there with I was seeing the Barbie movie. Guys, I've seen it. I've seen the Barbie movie, and
You've gone woke. He's gone woke.
I'm woke. I'm pro Mattel now. This podcast is sponsored
Woke,
by
yeah.
Mattel. Wait for the Joe Barbie doll coming soon.
Yeah.
And it was all right actually. I thought it was fine. There was some funny bits. And
You
it
said
wasn't.
it shouldn't have been as long.
No, but it's not 3 hours long, which I appreciated. I felt like towards the end of the movie, I was like, because the movie's like almost 2 hours long, and I'm like, this could have
Yeah.
been an hour and a half. I think like a 90
Remember
minute. This could
when?
have been like a 90-minute
Yeah.
film. I think.
Remember a lot of films were 90 minutes?
Sorry
Then
then.
you wouldn't buy as much popcorn.
But what was it? Oh, I went with my parents, and they were like, we have to get there at the time it says the film starts, and I'm like, but then we have to
Oh
watch
no,
30 minutes of
you
adverts,
fell
and
for the
then they were like,
scam.
30 minutes of adverts was playing, and I'm like,
I was
I'm not watching this. I want to play Slay the Spire on my phone.
what? Yeah, why are we waiting for you to come back in the Discord? I can't remember who I was talking to, but like I was saying, is like I've got a pro tip. If you come late and they don't know you're in, sneak in, just say you come to the toilet because you have a valid ticket.
I don't think they stop you from going in
No,
late.
I have only ever been queried coming in late, and I'm like, yeah, but I have a ticket. What are you gonna do? And also, here's a pro tip. I didn't use this, but I should have done. Say, has the film actually started yet? Because I'm not really ruining the experience, am I?
Yeah, so the day I actually went
So
to
I
the
don't think they can stop you.
the reason I went to go see the Barbie movie was because it was National Cinema Day. I don't know if you know about this,
No, never heard of it.
but there was an initiative where all of the cinema tickets were £3, so they were a lot cheaper than they normally
Yeah.
are. And
Is
yeah,
this a new national
I don't know.
event? Because I have literally never heard of
I
that,
had also never heard of it.
and never heard of tickets being that cheap. I think it's a good idea. Like if you're trying to get them back in, I think it makes a lot of
I
sense.
think like
I think,
like cinemas were dying, and then
yeah.
COVID happened, and then they were super dying. But
Then
yeah, like
COVID stopped, and people weren't really
the
going back.
the guys working at the cinema were like, I've never seen this many people in the cinema. Like people were actually going back to the cinema that day, which
Yeah,
is kind of
I'm saying
crazy.
it must be. I wonder if they. I know the tickets were cheap. I wonder if they've still made lots of money from it. I don't know. Like I wonder how that works out. Were they
Yeah,
hoping more people
I
would
assume
come
the
later,
idea
or do they
is
make money
like
that day?
I think the way cinemas work is they already make no money on the tickets,
Well, they've already paid. They've already paid for
and
the film reels,
I
right?
think almost all the money cinemas make is on the confectionery store,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
popcorn, drinks. That's why that
My
very much so they don't want you to bring in third party food. I don't.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just walked in with a water bottle full of water and they didn't stop me.
I
Um,
I don't think they can stop you with
yeah,
water
I was gonna say, I
bottles.
was like, if they tried to stop me from bringing in water, I'd be like, I have a right to drink water. You can't stop me
Yeah,
from bringing in water.
I think as well, if you want to be like a really
Legally,
badass move,
I
ask
could
them for
get
tap
free
water.
water. Yeah, they legally have to
Yeah,
give me free tap
if they're
water in the
selling food,
UK.
they can give you tap water.
which is why I never order drinks at a restaurant. Also, in the
Yeah.
restaurant business, all your money is made from drinks. So
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's why they're always so expensive.
I think tickets technically like manage to like if on a good month, let's say, like manage to break even for like your building rent costs and like your employees, and then I think yeah,
It's
then
interesting to
all
see
your
because the last time I went
revenue
to the
comes from
cinema, there was like a bunch of restaurants there, and then I went to the cinema, and the restaurant next to it was like to let. It was just not there. I was like,
yeah,
oh, okay. I can see like cinemas are
they
definitely not
they
as popular as they once were.
yeah, because their business is relying on people coming in.
Are you gonna timestamp Joe's random cinema rant into the
It's
timestamps?
in
Because
Blunders.
it's in Blunders. Okay, the cinemas are Blunder.
Well, we're in Blunders still. I don't know. Is there any more Blunders?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on to the next blunder. RuneScape 3 has added the Hero Pass, which is a battle pass for RuneScape. So, if you don't
The,
know,
the bad one.
RuneScape 3 is the current version of RuneScape. It's not the popular one. And
It's not old school RuneScape.
yeah, and it has a subscription to it, much like old school RuneScape. And they were like, well, we've got this monetization inside RuneScape 3 of letting you. I think there's like a cash shop already. I think there's
Yeah, I think it's
a
a loot box
subscription
system.
service. There's loot
Yeah.
boxes, and then they're like, well, why don't we also add a battle pass? Well, Tony, this has led to a review bomb on the RuneScape store page on Steam following the release of this. I mean, they literally.
You can't
We
imagine.
were talking about like previously. They had to get a majority vote to add a new skill to old school RuneScape because of how
Yeah,
much
no, it's
people hated
they the
changes
super
to the
majority.
game because of how
Yeah,
much worse they had made RuneScape through RuneScape 3's launch.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, did they not learn from this? Like, are they just
No.
trying to? Are they
Well,
just accepting that RuneScape 3 players are probably just whales and they're just trying to
yeah,
milk them?
I was gonna say I think they consider them like two separate player bases. Well, yes, they are, but I think it's two separate types of people. So I'm just like, yeah, we could get away with this.
I think people were complaining because they were like, old school RuneScape gets like updates, but they're very small updates, whereas RuneScape gets very big, flashy updates. And
Yeah.
obviously, they're putting bigger, flashy updates into RuneScape 3, not just because they have to be voted in, but because it makes a lot of money from whales, I think.
Yes, I agree. We
As
need
someone who doesn't play RuneScape or RuneScape 3, I am assuming.
yeah. Well, I'd say statistic. Well, I mean, not statistically, but like from like evidence from other places, like Wales like supported the vast majority of like these games with like these sort of mechanics. So
Yeah, let's move on to the next one, Tony. Payday 3 is coming out in 2 weeks, and it already has a roadmap with all the DLC that's coming out this year.
oh, I can't
Oh
wait.
boy. It's already received a full year's worth of DLC, and do you remember when Payday 2 came out and they said they
Yep,
wouldn't add loot boxes and it completely destroyed the game's reputation? And now they're
yep.
like, no, no, guys, we're starting again. We're releasing a brand new game full of DLC.
I don't have a problem with like your like plan to do DLC, but like like my issue with like these commitment and like roadmap is to hide like a flawed base game. So yeah, but we're still working on it. We're a live service. It's like yeah, I don't have a problem with promise of like DLC as long as it's fairly priced. But like surely like develop like shit happens. Surely like development's gonna change. Like you might have a different idea, or the player base has a different idea. So you have to adapt and change what you're gonna do. Like I don't like these roadmaps. Just never. It just seems like we just want to keep milking you as long as possible.
I mean, I've got access to the open beta now because I think everyone has access, but I signed up to the closed beta and get in, and I haven't had time to play. And I'll see if I have time tomorrow to try it out, but I don't know if I will. But yeah. From what I've heard from people playing, they're saying, I haven't been having too much fun with it, so maybe, it won't be like a big success. I mean, a lot of people have been saying like I don't really see the point of moving from Payday 2 to Payday 3. It will be part of Games Pass, so again, got Games Pass, you can try it there, I guess. But yeah. Oh, Sony's increasing the PlayStation Plus price for no reason on September 6th, the release of Starfield. So uh, everybody on Xbox gets Starfield for their Games Pass sub, and everyone on PlayStation Plus gets a big middle finger. Thanks to this increase in the price. So last
Maybe
time,
it was automated and they thought they were getting Starfield.
but yeah, I mean, I shit you not, when they increased this price, Saints Row Reboot was the headline title.
Oh my god.
When they chose to perform a 33%
Oof.
price increase, and they were saying, well, inflation. It's like,
Can
this
I
is
just
way
say,
more than inflation.
yeah. Also, even if it was in step with inflation, like you have to argue, like you have to think about it this way. You need to do it in steps, right? Fine, like it's like integer levels of things. But like you can't do a massive jump. Do smaller jumps more often. Don't do massive jumps. It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, and I would say if you listen to this and you have if you are subscribed, I would rethink whether it's worth it at this price. And maybe it still is, but yeah, yes, you have to like do a new cost analysis of it. So
Increasing the price for the 12-month sub or the year sub, which will continue to bring high quality games and value added benefits to your PlayStation Plus subscription. You will see them in the future.
yeah,
We have nothing to show you now that would suggest this.
yeah,
Oh, okay. But so the premium edition of PlayStation Plus that already makes no sense because it's ridiculously expensive while getting like no real added benefit. I think you get like Ubisoft Plus as well, which is like okay.
oh,
Um,
excellent.
is going to cost £120 a year,
Oh,
which I'm just like,
why?
that's so expensive. That's nuts.
It's £10 a month,
And
right?
that's no. That's with a year benefit.
Oh,
So that's the
oh,
cheapest price. If you were
oh,
buying it month to month, it is
yeah.
£13.49 a month. So
Oof.
if you were
So
paying for it
yeah,
monthly, it will cost you £161.88 a year if you're paying for it monthly
that is way too expensive for what you're getting.
for the premium edition.
Yeah.
If you're getting the essential one, gives you
The thing
uh
is, though, we're clearly comparing this incorrectly. We need to compare the base as being getting basic access online, and this is the difference between the base and this version.
okay, so the basic online access is £60 a year compared to
Yeah. So wait,
120.
imagine having to pay to access to servers that Sony may or may not
Imagine you have to
control.
pay a monthly subscription to use Steam.
Yeah, I know.
That'd be
It's
nuts.
almost as if they have active users buying games, that should be enough to fund these
No.
servers.
They've set a precedent now. They have to.
Yeah, well, Xbox set the precedent first, unfortunately, with Live.
So look. Next up we have Rockstar Games is selling pirated copies of their own games on Steam. I think I was telling you about this on
Yeah.
the pre-show, but basically, there's a report from a YouTuber, Vadam M, reveals that long-standing issues with the Steam Edition of Manhunt are anti-piracy measures triggered by a third-party crack Rockstar used to mitigate the original version's DRM. So official copies of Max Payne 2 and Midnight Club 2 also have similar pirated code. So numerous PC games have included programming that degrades the gameplay experience when copy protection tampering is detected. So for example, Manhunt deliberately engages many glitches that make the game unwinnable if secure ROM DRM is missing. So, veteran hacking group Razor 1911 it circumvented the DRM shortly after the 2004 disc release, and their crack was so effective that Rockstar used it in the Manhunt 2008 Steam digital launch without anyone realizing it. However, the company's use of unofficial anti DRM tools in the Steam edition of Max Payne 2 came to light in 2010, after which it released patches to hide the evidence in both titles. Unfortunately, Rockstar attempts to cover its track broke measures it had implemented to make the Razor crack compatible with recent versions of Windows, activating the anti piracy bugs. As a result, the Steam release of Manhunt has been unplayable without third party mods for 13 years. So Rockstar used a cracked version of their own game because it was easier than updating it to run without the
Yeah.
DRM of using it on a certain operating system.
Yeah. Redoing the DRM takes effort.
They then got called out for it with the Steam release. They then went, "Oh, we'll remove this," and then bricked their games on Steam and never updated them.
And how did the pirates how are they playing their game?
So the situation is incredibly ironic because people who pirated Manhunt never encountered this issue. So the measures designed to lock up pirates only affected legitimate customers. The
Yep.
tester who
That's
discovered the
my
anti-piracy measures, Firehead, has released an updated patch to remove them.
yeah. This is
Seeing
my biggest issue is like you like it's not about the quote unquote criminals. It's about like are you screwing over the paying customer? That's what this is all about.
seeing the video from Vadim, Silent, famously of the Silent patch, which is basically the definitive way to play the definitive edition of the Rockstar games, which is the original versions. He went to discover that the Midnight Club 2, which is no longer available on Steam, it had the cracked version as well. The crack
Okay.
explains the game's incompatibility with Windows Vista. This practice likely occurs more than often than many realize.
Yeah.
According to another developer, Ben Gullis, multiple studios have admitted to using pirated versions of games for re-releases. Games that port games to new platforms and storefronts don't often have access to the original materials or development staff. Many companies lack the space or procedures to maintain the final source code, which frequently becomes lost. In such situations, pirates have proven to be the most effective means of preservation, which is very true when you think about stuff like Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Getting caught.
but I meant like
Again, stop. Yeah.
I meant in terms of preservation, but also Nintendo did use Dolphin emulation code
Yep.
in the Super Mario 3D All Stars collection on the Switch.
But I just want to I just want to say like re-emphasize the point of like it like even if we agree this like having like anti-piracy measures like to protect sales like support your business is one thing, like that's not the issue we're bringing up. The issue is that you are screwing over paying customers to implement these
It
solutions.
reminds you of a
Do you
certain
deserve it if you're
company.
screwing them?
They go by the name De Novo or something, right?
Yes.
Always online, potentially affects
Yes.
performance. Whereas the
It's
people
just
on the internet who crack it in a week, they get the perfect version of the game.
yeah. And are you seriously telling me that like every game without these like anti-piracy things don't make money? Like, are you seriously telling me that? Like, it's just absolute nonsense. It's not like I know what's happening. It's like you're at the start of the project, you're building it. It's like you kind of get into maybe the middle of the project. You're like, oh, okay, maybe we should think about protecting it. It's like it's not based upon data. It's just you have this knee-jerk sense of oh maybe we should like have some sort of security. We don't know if we need it or not, but we probably should have it. It's just such a dumb way to look at the problem.
Let's read the Petermology tweet and end the podcast. We've got a new one, Tony. He stopped posting for a while, but we've got a brand new one. Thanks to Super Mario Wonder. Was hoping the talking flower in Super Mario Wonder would be more innovative. For example, making fun of your friends in real time when they fall down a pit, etc.
It's your AI flower.
Flowers that mock you when you make mistakes. Check us out. YouTube.com at Everything In Between Podcast. Twitch.tv/Scorn if you want to watch us live. At Scorn2000 if you want to follow me on Twitter for some reason. And shows.cast.com/everything-in-between-podcast. There will be links to the Apple Podcast and Spotify version on there. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.